I'm Todd Bookspan, and welcome to your neighborhood real estate show. The hyperlocal real estate show where real estate professionals talk about the neighborhood you live in or the neighborhood you want to live in. This episode is brought to you by homebuyeruniversity.net, your free comprehensive guide to buying or refinancing your home. Click over to homebuyeruniversity.net to get started online today. Hey everyone, I'm Todd Bookspan, and welcome to another episode of Your Neighborhood Real Estate Show, where I'm super excited for you to meet my friends Sarah and Jesse Morales with the Morales Group at eXp Realty. I guess I should throw that in there.
Yeah.
Since that's new for you guys since the last time we were all together.
Yes. It's nice to be here. Thanks for having us.
I'm super excited. It's been a while since you guys moved away and came back and brief stint away, but you guys are Arizona people.
Oh my gosh, Arizona is
born and
home.
raised.
Yes, Arizona's home. Good
all right.
journey.
And so you guys have been in this business for a while. I know you came from my world, the lending side.
Mm-hmm.
And so walk me through kind of, why don't you tell everyone who you are, why you love real estate, how you got in, and all that kind of stuff.
Okay. You want to start first?
Oh goodness, yeah. So I've been in real estate, going on 19 years. So I started when I was about 24, 25.
Oh.
But I think a little bit of my backstory is, I guess I don't want to say too much, but I've always had a passion just for helping people, really, because that's a part of my story, right? Just coming from that brokenness and, and not having the greatest of home life. So being able to implement that into real estate and helping people, I think is something that I have just loved to do.
Yeah.
And
And she never talks enough about herself, but she's a hustler. So she was 16 and pregnant. That's a huge part of her story. Like being a single mom and 16 and pregnant, she had to hustle to kind of, provide for her daughter and take care of herself. And so she didn't have a whole lot of support.
So I think that was my beginning, just always having that hustler mentality. And I know real estate is a grind and it's a hustle. But I think moving forward now, past that and being more established, I think just, more of that home part comes in.
Well, I think that's it, right? I mean, I think we all know how important home ownership is, right? Not only is it a wealth builder, but really it's the whole idea of being able to put your family and have them run out in their own backyard and paint the walls of that home the colors they want to paint them.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. For myself, man, I've done a lot. So I've been a jack of all trades almost, I guess you can say. I was a small business owner for about 13 years. Had a small plumbing company that I had. That was successful. I was just kind of in over my skis. It was a lot of work, and it was outdoor plumbing. So, Arizona heat takes a toll on you. So, worked that for 13 years. Ended up selling that company, got into lending for about 3 years. I've always loved real estate. And so I was kind of vicariously living that through Sarah, through her career. And we would do investment properties here and there too. So for a few years when we had more inventory, we would flip houses and stuff like that. We had a blast doing that.
Yeah, it was fun.
And so that's why I got into lending. I'm like, hey, let's not put all our eggs in one basket. I'll go into the lending route. Lending is a different animal. I learned, Todd, I don't know how you do it. I know how you do it. You have to be gifted. You have to be
showing houses, all that. I think that's
certain,
the fun part.
certain type of person that can do that, so kudos to you, Todd. But, I did well. It was just, it took a toll on me as well. And then from there, we had a huge life adventure where we decided to take a leap of faith and go to Washington. I had an opportunity to become a pastor up in Washington.
That's awesome.
So, I did that for 2 years. That was before COVID and all this crazy stuff that was happening around 2020. So we went in 2018. Long story that, with all that time that was going on, it kind of wasn't well for the church we were at. And so we had to pivot back. And we picked up where we left off. But that adventure alone was something that was really cool for us. It was one of the most difficult things we've ever done, but amazing at the same time. Just our kids crushed it, which was amazing. Imagine pitching
That's what you want the most, right?
Yeah. The logistics that go into that. Imagine pitching to your kids like, hey guys, we're going to leave across country, when we had established family here and careers and friends and family, this is all we knew. So
but it was tough coming back of what do we want to do? Because I try to keep, as much as my referral business here, working here and trying to establish in Washington. It was tricky. So just coming back, that's it's well, let's partner. It's something we both love to do. And it's been amazing. The past 2 years, we were just doing goals today, going over numbers. And it's,
And that was the pipe dream that we had, and the prayer that we had that we kind of went on was that we would go and reestablish there and maybe align a little bit more to where we're kind of, as a family operating more on purpose and passion and stuff. And then Sarah would be able to do what she loves to as well at the same time, doing real estate. She got licensed up there, but like I said, that's when everything shut down.
Yeah.
Northwest was a whole nother ball game with things shutting down.
Non-essential.
So that was another hurdle we ran into. But coming back, when we came back, we realized we had a whole new perspective for how much we love Arizona, and then just life in general. I think it was a great experience. Like I said, extremely difficult, but beautiful at the same time because we grew, spiritually and personally, and we got to know each other even more. We laugh about it because it was hard. But we kind of laugh about it like it was like Naked and Afraid, that show. Like it was so difficult, because ministry is a tough one too. I mean, it's up there, one of the toughest jobs to have. It's just a tough job. Yeah. But we, I guess I hate to say job, but that's kind of what it was. I mean, I went there to go do that. I mean, making, ministry is not a whole lot of money in there. So we went kind of just to serve. Yeah. And, but we learned a lot about each other. Like, it was just like, there was times where like, we'd wake up like, what the heck did we do? It was just that wild. But at the same time rewarding, And so we'll fast forward when we're coming back, I was like, well, what am I going to do? We've always talked about maybe doing real estate. And she asked if I wanted to do that. And I didn't want to step on her toes because, she's a boss babe. She kind of already knows what she's doing. And she was doing great at it already. And she kind of was like, yeah, I think we can do that. If you want to do it, we got to really, put our minds to it and go after it. And the market was going crazy meanwhile, right? It started to pick up like in 2020 when the market was starting to pick up. Yeah. So we're like, this is a good time. Let's do it. Let's team up and try to build an empire with it, and that's kind of how I got into it. And I love real estate. Like I said, I just can do it. It's not work for me. So it's just like, I just love it. It comes easy to me. I love, hanging out with clients, and I just love to serve and help people, so anything I can do to help people get into a house they love makes me happy. You
guys don't understand. If you're just listening, you're not watching this, you would not see the smile, how big it is on Jesse's face as he's telling the story. And I think anytime you go through change like that and adversity, there's always, whether there's hardship or whether it's the best thing ever, there's just so much learning in the rearview mirror that you get, especially if you did it as a family and as a couple. I just love hearing that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think through it all too, we just, like I said, the perspective we've learned to we believe there's ministry in everything as well. And so it's like, I think just through our life experiences and all the different trades I was in, I've learned that if you just really have a heart to help and care about people and care about what you're doing and work hard, you can go far. You can do everything really well. Yeah. And there's ministry in that because if you do it with a heart to serve, good things just happen, if you do it with the right heart. So yeah.
I love that. Mm-hmm. I love that. And so I think one of the interesting things about your story is, so now you're building a team at EXP. And so you've got other people that are actually now working with you that you've helped build a real estate business within your team. Is that a good way to describe it?
Yeah. So we've had multiple newer agents looking to get into business. They've reached out. They've joined our team and they're doing amazing. Even in a market like this, they're doing very successful. I can think of two couples, that we know that they're doing great. Yeah.
I love hearing that.
Yeah.
I love hearing that. All right. So if you're listening, you're thinking, oh, maybe we should get into real estate too. Here's your
talk
go-to.
To us.
Here's your go-to team.
Oh, man. I was just going to say, I was going to piggyback on that, and me even kind of getting into the industry new, being on our team, and kind of being involved with the team that we're with, KP Elite. Shout out to KP Elite. There's so much resources, I was able to kind of dive in and learn and get into training every single day and, other stuff. So we're working some online leads and stuff like that we're real successful on. We're having about 26% conversion rate on online leads, which has been pretty awesome.
That's a crazy number. If you're listening, you don't know that, you should be super impressed, but you were like, what, 26? That doesn't sound like great, but for online leads, that's amazing compared to 2 or 3% is a good number in the past.
Yeah. So. I mean, literally my phone has been buzzing right now. We get leads. So, anyhow, it's a great jump start. If you're new to the industry, hit us up. Yeah.
I love that. All right. So you packed up your bags, you lived in Queen Creek, and you came back and you said, okay, where are we gonna live? So tell us tell us where you ended up and then sort of what your philosophy was and how you guys ended up there.
Okay. Yeah. So we lived in Queen Creek for about 13 years. So before we moved, like you said, we lived in Queen Creek. We loved it. We felt when we moved to Queen Creek initially, that it was going to boom. This was back when there was stop signs.
I was going to say all there was farms out there at that time. So you really had a vision for where the market was going, and then you were way ahead of the curve.
And it was when we were young in our mid 20s, and so it was our first home, and it's basically what we can afford, but we knew that was going to be the best investment. But it was frustrating because it was just the infrastructure wasn't there yet, so there was not a whole lot of shopping or dining, and traffic was terrible. But we knew it was coming, with the nice structure and stuff that was coming around was going to be amazing. Anyhow, that ended up booming. We all know where Queen Creek went. For a while there, they were, up there with Gilbert for price per square foot. So when we moved from there, we were looking around and we wanted to stay in the East Valley because that's where our work is mostly focused in the East Valley. And our kids go to school like on Higley and Ray area. But we wanted to be close to that. And so our thing was, okay, do we want to live back out in Queen Creek? Because traffic isn't as bad, but it's still a ways from the kids to school. So our other option was Eastmark. And so we looked at Eastmark. We were going into new construction. We've always bought new homes, right? I mean, why do you always buy new homes? What do you think?
I don't know. I know. Being an agent, we look at like homes maybe we can redo. I just think the newer homes
homes is your jam.
It's just our jam. Yeah. I know.
All right. So someone listening, and they're like, okay, well then where is Eastmark? How do you find it? So you land at Sky Harbor Airport, right? Middle of Phoenix. Where do you go to get to Eastmark?
Yeah. So it's about 30 minutes straight east. You would take the 10 to the 202 loop that, gets off right at Ellsworth and Ray where
so
Eastmark
literally
is.
Straight east. So where Queen Creek's another bit to the southeast from there, you're just straight east.
Yes. Yes. And, for a while there when we were looking, it was the same, prices were comparable for the new construction that we're looking at. So we're like, let's land in Eastmark. We feel like there's a lot of stuff coming to Eastmark. And so that's where we end up landing. It's a very vibrant neighborhood. Families, great place to raise a family, or even if you don't have family, it's just a very energetic neighborhood that has a lot of potential that's coming. So yeah.
So talk about family. So what do your kids love to do in Eastmark? Because I know there's all sorts of amenities.
Oh my goodness. Well, I think the newest amenity that they are really loving is the fishing lake.
Yeah.
Our boys love
how cool is that?
Fish. Oh my gosh. Yes. They would find little communities with ponds and fish there. But I think now that Eastmark has it,
we forgot to add that in. Like that was a requirement of the kids. Like we needed to live in a neighborhood with a lake, to fish. Yeah. So we found that in Eastmark. They also just finished a skate park. They have a disc golf course. They've got a big old community center, of course. We've got our own coffee shop. We've got a farm there. We've got our own restaurant called the Handlebar. And then you got Starbucks and Safeway. It's all kind of right there with more stuff to come. The real exciting one is still, I guess, in the mock-up phase. It's not final yet, but it's supposed to be called East Market, which is super cool. So
I like that.
Yeah, if you guys want to look into that, it's amazing. It's going to be on the corner. It'll have like an outdoor, indoor vibe is kind of what they're going for. They'll even have like a little stage out there and stuff for community events. Oh, that's what we forgot to say too. So Eastmark, they have outdoor like concerts. So we'll have cover bands that'll even come in and play for the neighborhood.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, at the big park we have, and they'll have food trucks and stuff like that. So just to kind of paint a picture of like all the stuff that goes on in Eastmark. We love it.
And so there's resale out there, and then there's lots of new construction still happening.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Right.
And lots of different builders. So lots of different, like what's a price range out there?
I would say, okay, well, it's such a big community. I know there's townhomes, and they're, I think, starting at probably about $350 price point, all the way up to, David Weekley's over $1 million.
Yeah, probably up to 1.2 million for new construction.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you got to get just about anything out there.
Right.
You really can.
It's a pretty big neighborhood. It's unique because it's a huge community, but it has, like I said, like a small town. Like everyone wants to know everybody. The Facebook page is crazy. I don't know how many, like 50,000 people on the Eastmark neighborhood page. I don't know how many people.
Not that many people live out there.
I don't
that's
think
all
so,
the wannabes, right?
Yeah. Or maybe they lived there at one point and just wanted to, stay chimed in, I guess. But
it's great. I think the location's great too. With the freeway that's up. That's one thing that we love. We can get to Scottsdale quickly, Chandler, Gilbert.
Yeah. And there's lots of opportunities right now. So we have a few clients that shopping in Eastmark right now. There's a lot of spec homes available right now. Of course, with the, house prices coming down, there's good deals to be had for sure with spec homes.
New construction.
Yeah. And we feel like Eastmark's still got a long ways to go with stuff that's coming. So we still believe like Eastmark has got a whole nother level to get.
Park is right down the street, which is huge.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
I think that's the interesting part about it, right? Anytime you get in at the earlier phases, then that's where the opportunity is, right? You're in there early and you're benefiting from the fact that, values are going to go up over time, and that as the amenities come in, more people are going to want to be in, and you can get there. It already has most of the amenities. And if you want more of those amenities, you can just drive down the street. It's not that far.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And just being right off the 202. We can get to Santan Village within 15 minutes. We can get to Queen Creek in 12 minutes, and Scottsdale in 25 to Old Town. Yeah. We're part of a wine club there, and we, it's not far to get to date nights in Scottsdale if you wanted to. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think if you can live within 30 minutes, and it sounds like most of it's within 15, you guys are set.
Yeah. Oh man, we're loving it. We're walking billboards for Eastmark. Yeah. We're really digging it. Yeah. So
I love that. Well, in fact, it's funny. I wrote that down when we were talking walking billboards, but I didn't bring it up. So I'm glad that you did. So So right now you said that prices are down and that there's an opportunity. So if I'm a buyer and I'm thinking about buying out there, like what kind of advice are you giving buyers? It seems like there's a lot of fear in the market because they're worried that we have 2008 to 2010 over again, that they're worried about higher interest rates. I mean, what's a conversation with someone who's got to move now, and like where you tell them the opportunities are?
I mean, I definitely think the opportunity is right now. I know we're talking a little bit earlier, and it's like, we see these little windows in the market, right? It's like even January through May, I think that was the best time for a seller to sell. Those were the best months. And
Heck
was
yeah.
kind of like that window of opportunity. Even right now, with so many buyers in the shadows, fearful and not wondering what's going to happen, this is the time where you're getting great prices on a home. I mean, we're writing offers, some even 50,000 under list price, and they're getting accepted. So closing costs, inspection repairs. So that's why I feel like this is now, if someone can make it happen, to buy and not worry about the interest rates, this is going to be the time, because once interest rates drop, those flood of shadow buyers are going to come into the market. They're going to be competing. You're probably not going to get as much repairs, that you wanted paid for, closing costs, all those things.
And we're hearing it a lot. So, I mean, the market, if the rates drop, it's going to get wild again. I mean, we have team meetings every Monday, and we kind of collab with our team and talk and see what's going on. Everyone's got, huge pipelines of buyers. And I mean, only about a quarter of them.
Still under. Inventory is not even where it should be for a healthy market. So
Right.
if we get those flood again, those flood of buyers coming in. It's
right.
It's an interesting statistic because inventory is still technically low,
Yes.
but it's so much more than we've had the last 2 years. And so, kind of let me clarify in case someone like doesn't quite understand that. You said, right, you can actually get a repair done now, where before you were paying over the asking price and you were buying it as is. And then before, if you needed closing cost assistance, if you were a buyer that had limited funds for down payment and closing costs, you couldn't buy because you couldn't go above the asking price and they wouldn't give you any assistance. And now we know that you can get that also to buy even a lower interest rate. Right. And so I think that's really the key if you're listening to this and you're scared of the market. And I agree with you. I think it's a really good opportunity now because I know that my mortgage team has, almost 200 buyers that are approved, ready to go. They qualify at the high rates today, but they don't want to buy until it gets lower. And I'm like, all right, well, we're just one team. And granted, we're a big team, but that just tells me that there's hundreds of other loan officers who have pre-approved clients ready to buy that are all thinking the same thing. And some are going to miss the boat.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is that window that we all just look back at. Oh, that was the time when I should have done this, right? And I think this is the opportunity.
Yeah, and we're hearing the same thing. We've got like 80 to 100 people on our team, and we're hearing the same thing. Everyone's got people that are just kind of waiting, So it could be on the horizon. Another, at least get back out there to get shopping before you have a lot of competition.
Well, and I think I would encourage someone listening who's on the fence to reach out to you guys because of your lending background. You guys are all aware. We're not going to bore people with the strategies like the 2-1 buy down and the other things that people can do, but there's ways to actually have a lower payment, for the short term, even on a fixed rate loan, so that people can afford it now and then refinance it when rates come down in the future. And so I know that you guys can educate them on that. We won't take our valuable time with you guys and go down boring lending conversations. And so I think, are you guys seeing buyers now that they have got this more choice? I mean, I got to imagine they're happier when you can say, hey, there's not one new house to look at that you have to make an offer in 15 minutes. They can go out and look at a few houses or a handful. Like, what does that look like?
Wonderful. Like, I love that our buyers now have options, versus like we have 1-2 homes to show and you got to make a decision quick, like tonight. Now, we have 10 homes, 15 homes. Like, we can look, they can shop, and a buyer should be shopping, and they should take their time. They shouldn't be rushed. So I love it. I love the more homes to choose from.
Yeah, it's definitely great. It's definitely shifted much towards buyer's market now. So it's great. It's the time to get out. Yeah, well, it'll be interesting to see. I know, we won't give our predictions on air because we were talking about it before, but you two are in line with my thinking on what's happening with the market. And so it'll be kind of fun to see how that all plays out. And so on the opposite side, though, then you said it's a buyer's market. So you also represent sellers. So how does that conversation go with sellers? What should a seller expect? What's that conversation look like? Yeah, so it's tough for sellers. Like I said, it being a buyer's market, it's kind of tough for sellers. And so, to be honest, we want to serve and help our clients. And so we are kind of telling them, if you don't have to sell, you probably shouldn't sell right now because it's not a seller's market. So that's kind of unique. People, like, they're not saying, hey, we're going to try to take someone who doesn't really have to sell and tell them they should sell so we get a sale. We're actually giving people advice on what's best for them. Like maybe keep it and rent it out if you can, but it's just not a great time to sell if you don't have to. So in the strategy that we've been using and trying to get in front of the market is the strategy. That's what's tough. And, reality is most sellers want most for their money, right? And so when you try to explain to them, hey, it's not the market that we just got out of in April, May.
We can't use those comps.
We can't use those comps.
Any sales from that time point, it's like we can't even use.
That's got to be the hardest competition, right? The house across the street sold for $600,000, and they think they can get $650,000, right?
It's not happening because we've seen it. It decline each month. I know the numbers on that, but we've seen that, so that's what we have to calculate. It's not worth what it was.
So essentially, we try to find out what's their goals, and most people have equity in their house right now, and so we try to get their goals. What are they trying to get out of their equity, and then kind of work backwards from there. Because essentially, we need to get in front of the market. The longer we sit, the more it's going to take a hit. So, that's kind of a strategy we've used, is setting expectations up front. So that is very, very important. That is the key thing. Yes. You have to set the expectations up front, because if not, you're going to sit on the market and you're just going to get even less for your house than you anticipate, because the market's going backwards. It's not going down as fast as it did, from June to September, but it's still continuing to grind down. Yes. But the longer we sit, the more the market's going backwards. And so if you start high, you got to come down even more versus trying to get in front of it.
Price right in the beginning.
Mm-hmm. So that's I'm going to say that again. So you said price right in the beginning, right? Don't try to skim the top, because that's not a top skimming market. It's put at the right price. Right. Now, what about making a house look better? If someone's got a house that's older and not maybe show as well, what kind of advice do you have to give clients about their homes?
I definitely think now it feels a little bit more like 2018, 19, where it's like you're giving your seller those preparations, the decluttering, new paint if possible, even new carpet. Like those things go a long way when you're getting ready to put your home on the market. And we, like the market we just got out of, people were just listing and they were selling. Right. So, but now it's like you do got to do some work and make it presentable for sure.
No one wants to hear that, huh?
I know it's tough.
No one wants to hear that.
Tough.
And, and I think that's the hardest part, is because these are people's homes, and we understand you live in them every day. It's not a model home, but if you're moving anyways and you got to start packing, it's best to just start, decluttering, putting some stuff in the garage and getting it ready. Yeah.
Well, I think everyone knows that, right? You walk into a house and you have that, you smell the new carpet, you smell the new paint, and you're like, this smells like I can live in this house versus someone else's smells. And I just see that with, especially the first time home buyer, they really, if they're not buying new, they want something that still feels like it's new. And so I think if you got two houses on the same street and one's got that little extra work, it's going to go a long way.
I totally agree. Yeah. I think that's the biggest thing that we hear from buyers, right? Oh, I got to replace the carpet. Oh, I need to paint. So if sellers can if they have the funds to do that, we always recommend. It's a big plus.
Yeah, so essentially we feel like we're back in that market previously to where, like when we were flipping houses, the redone houses and, newer colors and paint and modern touches, they sell first. They sell fast and they sell for the most, versus the house that
don't want work.
They want to versus the houses that need a little bit of work, or maybe having a little bit too much clutter or doesn't show really well. They'll sit for a little bit longer. So we just try to get them as close to show ready as we can. And we've had a lot of success with that.
I remember that when I had a realtor tell me, well, you can't take all your clothes that are stuffed in that one spot. And I'm like, it's a big closet. Like, no, it has to have half that. I'm like, okay. Like I think that you all have so much wisdom when it comes to selling a home.
Yeah, the buyer wants to envision themselves in your home. Yes. So it has to be as depersonalized as possible. That's why even with photos, some people, I think I did have one client, they're like, I'm not taking those pictures down of my kids. And it makes me feel terrible. But, when you're selling, you just have to have a different eye of people are coming in your home and they want to envision themselves.
They want to see themselves there. I think that's always an interesting one, right? Yeah. Like when the first time I heard that, I was like, that's really weird, but it totally makes sense. They don't want to see you. They want to see themselves in there.
They want to see themselves. Right. So it does help. Obviously, if someone doesn't want to take down a picture, we're not going to make them. But these are just things that we recommend. And it helps. Yeah.
Good suggestions.
Yeah.
I like that. And it's always interesting too, because I feel like we just talked about what the opportunities for a buyer. Then you have a seller, and the seller's most likely going to be a buyer. And so they want the best on their end, but they want the best on the other end too. And they forget, they can't tend to mesh those two together to realize that they need to put on that buyer hat for themselves when they're selling.
Yeah, that's a great point. So that's what we've told our sellers too. Like, hey, we're going to have to list less than you thought, but you're still going to hit your goals. But just know when we go on the buying side, we're going to get a good deal on your
You're going to make it up over there.
Make it up over there.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's a hard conversation.
Yeah, it's tough.
Gosh, sometimes it is.
Yeah, it's a people business, right? So it's just, I think that's one thing we've learned from our experience and things that we've been in is just trying to connect with our buyers and sellers, like how just connecting and kind of learning what their personality type is and kind of navigating that way. Some people want to just be hit straight with the numbers, or they need a little bit more, care and just building that trust with them to where we can build that connection and you get trust comes after that.
Right. All right. I feel like we covered a lot. We learned about
Yes.
you. We learned about your team. We learned about Eastmark. We learned about buyers, sellers. Is there something we forgot?
Oh man, that was good. Can you think of anything? I think that was great.
I think you guys crushed it.
Yeah, I think that was
Is that good?
great.
All right. So if we want to reach out to you,
Yeah.
we go to moralesgroupaz.com, MORALES groupaz.com. Right?
Yes,
That's the best way to reach
That's
you.
our
You guys are on
website.
social media, all
that's
that
our
cool
website.
stuff.
Yeah.
All right. We'll make sure we get all your contact info in the show notes and YouTube, wherever you guys are listening or watching this, you'll be able to get that. And I'm glad you all know my friends, the Morales.
Yes,
Sweet, Todd. Thank you. Appreciate it, buddy.
so much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
We appreciate
All right.
it.
This episode is brought to you by homebuyeruniversity.net, your free comprehensive guide to buying or refinancing your home. Click over to homebuyeruniversity.net to get started online today.